Hey guys, so unfortunately, the first couple seconds of our Around the Hearth with the Inn of Planar Crossroads at CR 11 and 12 had a little bit of an audio snafu, so we suck, we're terrible. We hope you still love us, and with no further ado, here you are, our next Around the Hearth, again, CR 11 and 12 with the almighty Inn of Planar Crossroads already in progress.
Final announcement is we will be at the St. Louis Comic Con, members from both Planar Crossroads and Black Dragon Gaming. So that's everything that I have. Any announcements that you have before we begin, Tommy?
I do not. I'm probably going first. I'll say that because I am super sick right now. But other than that, no, everything is. Our next giveaway is 400, and I forget the math. It's so I'm really sick and on a lot of lots of math.
424.
424. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's the
easy.
one. Boom. So we're at 320 ish right now, something like that. So it's probably going to be a while, but I have some vague ideas about what I'm giving away. If you want to see free stuff, and we all love free stuff. If you guys, oh man, I'm super sick. Subscribe, and we'll get you there.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Tommy take control, and he'll probably go first.
He will go first because he's essentially just eating sriracha on all his food to keep his sinuses from betraying him. And I don't know how much longer I have before everything goes to poop. So my monsters I talked about last week, the Amarok and the Luquata, again, both really strong monsters. But one of them has a pretty big failing in and of the fact of it's an aquatic encounter, and your CR11 or CR12, you can fly away and stuff. So I made that mistake not too terribly long ago with a Charybdis against a bard who was carrying the alchemist. The bard was flying, the alchemist was just bombing the Charybdis until the Charybdis dies, and I have no response. So I'll preface my encounters with how demiplanes work, essentially, and how why I really like them, why pretty much all my games that are not just running straight out of an adventure path will take place on a demiplane, because it in a more rules as written than because I'm the GM I say so. It allows you to make gravity work the way you want. It allows you to say spells don't work and here's why. If you have parties that like to teleport, if you have parties that like to, again, just fly over the encounters, put them in a place where gravity is super rough, or the fly spell is outright just forbidden. You can't cast it in that demiplane. It can make encounters not even just the Luquata, any aquatic anything that you really like, or any even terrestrial stuff that's just if you want to use a bunch of dire animals or something like that. If there's an encounter that you're really stuck on, this is a way to do it. So the first part of the encounter, to set this up, you want to put your party on some kind of I guess out in the middle of the sea, off to explore an island or something like that. We're kind of building the encounter on the fact that the party is maybe not evil, but at least crazy enough to go out and kill nature, I guess. Maybe even chaotic neutral murder hobos will work it out just as well. What we do is we put the party on a boat, and we have the boat get attacked by a Luquata who has a really broken ability called Capsize. Basically, it's just kind of a guaranteed one-shot flip the boat, put everybody in the water, and then have the Luquata start picking off, maybe not necessarily the party, but if they had to hire somebody to drive the boat, or the oarsman, or whatever it happens to be, just start killing them. It's and we learned this at level 8 when I use this guy. It's not hard for certain characters with high strength mods to just kind of flip the boat back over. But if they don't know how to drive the thing, if they lack especially if it's some kind of magical thing, you can strand them out in the water pretty easily. And if you want to start attacking the party, again, the Luquata has power attack not figured out. Looking at my Bab real quick. Where's my Bab? My Bab is 14. So we're adding 12 to our damage, so 4d10 plus 27 if we're power attacking, and we're probably power attacking once people hit the water because their armor class is going to be super bad. And again, just wreck the party. If there's I guess I don't want to necessarily tell you kill all your players, because that's not fun. But if that's the kind of game you're playing, and like if the party knows that's what's happening, go ahead and like kill a couple of the spellcasters, kill the ones that are really important. But eventually, like when this thing goes to half health or something, retreat, because it's a 2 intelligence. It's a magical beast, but it's essentially just a giant fish. It's not intelligent enough to keep fighting. It's not like it doesn't have some evil plan. It's just a fish. So when it gets hurt, what's it going to do? It's going to swim away. That brings us, and you don't even necessarily have to use these guys for this encounter, but to like the piece de resistance of this encounter, and probably a lot of encounters build moving forward, because it's a really good. I'll probably use it in Lordly Caliber, but I won't use it this way because I don't feel I need it. But it's a really good, like, if the party is doing something you just don't want them to do, bring in an Amarok and have that Amarok have access to anything from clairvoyance to even like outright scrying or invisibility, or even if you're like in like a forested setting, put it like up on a high mountain where it can see down into the party, and then like duck behind a tree or something so the party can't find it. Because again, the Amarok has an ability called Soul Bite, which allows it to bite directly into the soul of any creature it can see. Double checking this so I don't sound stupid. Yeah, okay. So the Amarok just has to see it to be able to bite it. There's no distance. There's no like X far away. It doesn't work. So it can be looking down through the scrying pool, see the party. The party does something the Amarok doesn't want them to do, then it bites it. By that notion, if you play them this way, probably like 9 times out of how many ever barbarians and rogues and stuff you have, you're hitting their flat-footed. I didn't realize this last week because I just kind of like, as I'm getting ready to put this together, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's really good. Ooh. So I like to build characters that are dex-based, and the dex-based characters will have as bad of a flat-footed as like, I guess I'll say a normal character's touch. That's the easiest way to take like the stupid high armor class away from somebody like that, and you can build crazy armor class without armor, is to hit their flat-footed, and the Amarok does that most of the time. For at Tommy's tables he can Vital Strike with this, because we're a little like, if it's just one attack, I'm okay with Vital Strike, because I feel like there's too much on Vital Strike to make it more than just a consolation prize for moving most of the time. And this guy again is built correctly. He's built what bestiary are you from, buddy? You're from bestiary 5? Yeah, bestiary 5. So from there forward, all the monsters start getting built to like oppose an optimized player. He has Vital Strike and improved Vital Strike. He has power attack. He even has like cleave if he decides to get in the middle of stuff. And cleave is its own independent standard action. I'd probably let that work too. Just cleave through the party and they can't see what's happening. And this guy also has greater grapple, and when he bites, he can do this through Soul Bite, he grabs you and trips you. These bonuses stack. So what we do is, if we're playing a super like rough Dark Souls style game, we play it like that movie that Liam Neeson, like The Gray on steroids, essentially. The party wandering around somewhere lost, like that ship that gets the crew gets killed by the Luguada and it washes ashore somewhere. The party's wandering around in the forest, and then suddenly somebody gets knocked over and is bleeding all over the place, but they don't know what hit them. So like the knee-jerk reactions is to start like perceptioning for invisible people, cast True Seeing, swing at random squares even, perhaps, and that doesn't work against the Amarok. You continue just kind of like picking the party off one by one, play that war of attrition. Maybe even like bring in like a second Amarok if you really feel like super vindictive, and hit them while they're sleeping. There's not a lot of recourse for this guy if we're being nice people, and the Amarok is lawful neutral, so it's like it's out of its wheelhouse probably to do that. It makes a really good if your party's not on the railroad that you've built, not to like condone railroads, but if that's you, that's you. If they're not going a certain way, you want the Amarok that like is guiding them on their like path to greatness. And it's not uncommon for an Amarok to Oh, how does it read in his? I know how it reads in Inuit mythology, but they uh, they don't hunt people for food, but they enjoy teaching lessons to those who like go out and hunt at night, or maybe go try to fight an encounter that you don't have ready, or an encounter that's over their head. The Amarok bites you and trips you, and you just keep doing that until the party is. I don't want to say this is definitely not how I GM, but I can't say that it's bad either. But this is a good way to like cow the party into doing what you want, doing what you have prepared. And again, if you want to start playing really cutthroat, the Amarok can do it. Now I will drift over to my Discord because that's all I had to say about those guys. And we'll just go up for me. And that means it is Adam. You have the floor, my friend.
Okie dokie. So I'll X out of that. And so 11. My 11 is the Meladaemon. So it is, of course, Daemons, comma, Meladaemon. But this is how it reads. This foul creature looks like an emaciated humanoid with the head of a jackal. So, I wasn't, when I saw this creature in the Bestiary number 2, I was like, oh, that looked kind of weird. And I didn't pay it much attention. But just reading the stat block, I was like, that might be fun. Might be useful. It's a neutral evil, as all Daemon are. Large outsider. It has something called consumptive aura, and that's the thing that I think would be useful for it. So, consumptive aura, the Meladaemon radiates an aura of hunger to a radius of 20 feet. Every round a creature begins its turn within this aura, it must succeed at a 22 fortitude save or take 1d6 non-lethal damage and become fatigued from extreme hunger. Creatures that do not need to eat are immune to this effect. Now, barring some shenanigans from story feats or things you get in a story, you're not gonna... Non-lethal damage may as well count as lethal damage for ending a fight. Not for ending a character, but for ending a fight. Because it stacks up together. So once, if you're taking regular damage from its claw attacks, say it does a full round action, because you're within 20 feet. So say it does a full round action. Its bite's a plus 20 to hit. That's probably gonna hit. And then its claw, it has 2 claws at plus 19. Those claws do hunger. The bite does disease. So if it's doing a full round attack, it's got demonic wasting as a bite injury with a fort save with a DC of 22. Not only it's got a 1-day onset, but it does 1d4 con and charisma damage. So it can definitely start to affect a group. And if I was going to use this creature, because it has telepathy up to 100 feet and can speak Abyssal, Draconic, and Infernal, I would probably use this creature in a very more thematic way than I would like the ones we highlighted last time. They're very powerful mechanically as well as thematically. This one I'd find more useful thematically, because even though it's got that 10-foot reach and can do a lot of stuff with it, there's usually things that are happening within your party to change that. But I would probably use it to set the stage. It's a dark area. They're called there because they think something's going on with the plants in the area. Maybe there's this blight happening, and this creature has blight 3 times a day. So the PCs go there to try and address the concerns of the area, and they go and they just can't quite figure it out. There's a bunch of weird tracks around, but doesn't really speak to anything specifically. So they start moving around, tracking stuff, and it gets to be nighttime, and they're doing maybe a stakeout, and say for purposes of being properly dramatic, it's a moonless night, so all that is lit is the stars. And the PCs are kind of camping out near an area. They've had to put out the fire because with it being so dark, they have to rely on their dark vision or things like that. And they see something at the edge of the firelight as they're about to put it out. And there's just this head of this, bestial wolf canine head, and it's just kind of looking at them from the bushes. They think that it's they think it's probably just a wolf or a coyote or something like that. They throw a stick at it, say, "Shoo!" And it kind of flies over towards it. Maybe they hit it, maybe they don't. Doesn't really matter. It's not going to do any damage. Just tossing something towards it. But it kind of moves back, and then it's back again, and that reflection that you get in the eyes of an animal, as that extra lens they have to hit that darkness just right to get that focus. And some of the other PCs are already asleep, so it's just maybe one or two that is up. And instead of going away, the creature raises a finger as it starts to stand up to its lips and goes, "Shh," and everything, including the fire, goes dark. What type of chaos would ensue, especially when that creature walked into the darkness? Maybe some of the people don't have dark vision, maybe they do, all that type of thing. Doesn't really matter. That's not the point. The point is setting it up. What if they go out chasing after it? What good is that going to do when it's got a 20-foot aura, and it makes sure to come from behind to try and get them? It's got waves of fatigue, horrid, which has no save, horrid wilting, stuff like that, that can start to really affect the PCs before they get close to it. And I think that would be the way to go with it. Plenty of resistances as far as elements, spell resistance of 22, so you're gonna have every spell going against it has to have a save, or has to have a check. So it definitely can keep people busy, and I like that one. So that is my 11. Coming to my 12 is an entirely different creature, the Calikang, which is Calikang. There we go for the people watching. And this creature actually is one that I would choose as they're kind of intended to be, which is like a guardian. This blue-skinned, 6-armed giant lurches to life, its armor and twin swords glittering with jewels. This is a lawful neutral creature, has dark vision, also has true seeing, and a perception of 20. But it's a lawful neutral creature, and its etymology talks about it being mainly used as and sought after for guardians of treasure. They use harems and fortifications as another example. It definitely, when you see the picture of it, when you look in the book, it's in the Inner Sea World Guide. I'll pull up a picture for the people that are watching too, because it definitely has a feel of Middle East, maybe into India and stuff like that. There we go, images. And it's got a lot of stuff going for it. I'll let that load. It's got a lot of stuff going for it in its abilities. It has something called Defensive Slam, which can be fun. Energy absorption, suspend animation, and it's immune. It's straight up immune to electricity, mind affecting effects, and negative energy. So that's not even going to touch it, and its SR is one step higher than the previous monster. which is something that we usually see. So there's a picture for the people that are watching. I'll paste it over here for the buddies. Paste. Upload. Okay. It has that ability, defensive slam, which I thought was very interesting, because defensive slam works as when it's not holding anything in its arms. So the picture that you guys saw has 2 swords, and then 4 of its 6 arms are down. Well, that means it can get a maximum of +4 by having 4 hands holding nothing. But that means its other 2 hands can still hold other things. It has crit focus, double slice, great fortitude, improved critical longsword, which can be changed out for any weapon that you want it to use, improved initiative, staggering critical, 2-weapon fighting, and vital strike. So this one has vital strike in its setup. And that bonus that it gets makes it perfect. This creature is really easy to beef up if you want to, for higher levels as well, because you're getting a little fast healing each round, which isn't going to mean much this high, but the way that you can beef it up is just throw some monk levels on it. Throw some monk levels on it and let it do a flurry of blows while it's doing while it's keeping up its defensive slam ability as well. Yeah, that'll start to add up a little bit. That'll start to add up after a while. Even though they're not doing super amounts of damage, it can count its 4 slams with a +16, a d6 each. And if you do that with a flurry of blows, that can start to add up pretty quick. That starts getting into sneak attack territory, as far as the amount of dice you're throwing. It also has a breath weapon, which means it can affect things that are not right up close to it. So it's dangerous close and abroad, close and far away. And the way I would use it for an encounter is in a similar way that I used a previous monster, which is I think it was the golden golem or something like that, the one that's charged up by electricity. I would have a similar setup in here, where there were orbs, kind of like you're seeing in the picture, that would occasionally shock whatever got close to it. So this guy, he would use his breath. He'd be fighting the PCs, guarding this treasure for whatever thing he's supposed to be guarding it for. And then after he had used his breath, it's a once-a-day thing unless he gets hit with some lightning. So he just steps back into the orb's zone and gets smacked with some lightning, which he's immune to, some electricity, which he's immune to, but he charges back up and then comes back out into the fray. And that can start to... That can be a way for the GM to recharge it so that he's able to do that. Aside from just having that breath weapon, he can choose the ability. When he uses the ability, he can choose the type of damage that it's doing, which means it doesn't matter. He's not very smart, but you don't have to be super smart to see if, say, your wizard absorbs fire, or if the barbarian is unaffected because he's some type of elemental rager or a blood rager. So I like this creature because of its versatility and everything it's got going. And if you try to use Cloud Kill on it, it will probably use something like Suspend Animation or something along those lines to give it a boost to its save. So that's my creature for both 11 and 12. And again, I would use this guy as a general guardian, but that he has a lot of versatility for your average guardian, and he's better than a golem in my opinion, because he's still immune to mind affecting effects, but he has an intelligence score and a wisdom score, and you know, the stuff that sometimes you don't get with just straight up constructs.
Fair enough. I can dig it. I'm not sure where that guy comes from. I googled him while you were talking about it. I didn't see any
The Inner Sea God.
Any like real world equivalents or anything like that? I mean, like mythology and stuff. I imagine probably it's
Well,
on the Pathfinder wiki. It says there's
Jal Marais or something like that.
mm-hmm.
He looks Jal Marais.
When the god Vinchkivani, a deity of guardians and protector of Plaza. Yeah, that's where it comes from, yeah, for sure. Okay, anyway, before we get down to rambling and before my sinuses betray me, Joe, you have the floor. Go.
All right. So like I had said last video, I was going to talk about the Thunderbird and a good encounter you could build around the Thunderbird. So do you guys remember, I'm assuming you all remember, a particular movie with a group of adventurers going onto the sides of a mountain? Actually, there's a couple of movies like that, and they're both related. And they have trouble with wind, snow, and good old Christopher Lee casting spells at them. But see, now they didn't have Thunderbirds in those particular set of movies. They had big eagles, but I mean, those don't have storm or which essentially says that goodbye, halflings. So essentially, the setup is you guys have to get somewhere, and you have to go into the mountains. You go into the mountains, you have to get past the Thunderbirds. So Thunderbirds, they have a 12 intelligence, so they're slightly smarter than your average human, and they're of course they're just gigantic predatory birds. So what they're going to do is they're probably going to see some tasty morsels moving up the side of the mountain, and they know what they've got. They've got 12 intelligence, so they're going to use that storm aura to help knock people off the side of the mountains. Now this is just for small creatures, and it's not really big DC 10 strength check. I mean, yeah, but if you're trying to deal with these guys, you have to deal with the fact that they're probably not going to get close to you to attack you. So you're going to need ranged weapons to deal with, because they can just throw thunderbolts at you. Or you're going to need to fly at them, which you're going to have to beat a DC 20 fly check, and you take a -4 to that check. If it's dark, you can't see anymore, which is probably dark. We're on top of a mountain. And again, your halflings, they're going to get thrown around. It's not fun for them. So anyone who is on the side of this mountain, and they're probably on a precarious little walkway up the side of the mountain, they're going to have to be dealing with that. They're going to have to be dealing with the fact that there's a Thunderbird running around with this pretty nice CMB, grabbing them and throwing them off the side of the mountain, and then probably picking them up again later as they're falling. But they're going to have to deal with that, along with the fact that their friends are also being blown off the side of the mountain, and there's lightning. 12d6 points of electricity damage. Far more scary than Christopher Lee throwing avalanches at you, in my opinion.
I don't know.
So yeah, that's
so that shouting might have sounded really, really intimidating.
Yeah, that's kind of the Thunderbird, and it's kind of simplistic, but I think it works really well, and it's really just a throwback to the movies that hopefully everyone has seen, and more to the piece de resistance in my designed encounters here, and this is more. I talked about it last time. The Valkyrie. These are a bit more, like I said, interesting, and I'm not throwing throwbacks out. Actually, I kind of am, because the way I'm going to set up this is so we're probably, when we're using these creatures, these outsiders, we're probably going to be dealing with someone who's in the more neutral to evil side of things. Going out and finding for some reason the beginning of The Witcher 3 keeps popping up in my head, the battlefield, coming onto that battlefield, and there's these dead bodies scattered around, and people looting the dead bodies, and you come upon a still living man who's like very close to death, and then there's a thunderstorm rolling in over your head. And then you kind of hear like this like distant thunder of hooves, and you're like, battle's over. The armies have moved on. No one's coming here. Where is it? You're just looking around. The clouds are getting closer and closer above you. The sound of hooves, it's getting closer. And then you look up and you can see it. Some fucking asshole with huge ass wings on the back of a Sleipnir with a fucking lance is coming down from on high to bring the pain. Because you're looting dead bodies and you're taking people who aren't necessarily dead yet, and you're trying to take their stuff, which is a dishonorable act. And I'll tell you right now, Freya and Odin aren't going to like that. And these Valkyries are going to come down, like I said. And get rid of those spears. They don't need spears. Give them lances. They've got ride by attack. They've got spirited charge. They've got vital strike. Change that weapon focus from spear to lance. They've got all of this crap. They are going to make your player characters eat a handful of their own feces because they're going to get blasted. They've got now. Tommy and I really like it, and I think everyone else should really like it. The Raptors charge rule, which is if you fall more than 10 feet and move 20 feet, it's doubled your charge damage already.
Now that is the old 3.5 rule, I should say.
But that's applied to the whatever were Raptors or whatever.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Which I think that just makes sense. If I'm already using my own body weight and then I'm doubling it by reaching my I cannot think of the term.
Critical velocity.
Terminal velocity. Thank you. I really wanted to say angle of repose, but that's more of a architecture thing. If I'm reaching my terminal velocity, falling down from above, using both the weight of a Sleipnir, and this outsider, this Valkyrie, just focused on the tip of a lance. Yeah, whoever is trying to pick up that like +2 sword off of that dying warrior is about to get a lance in the back of the neck. And like I said, this is probably for neutral to evil aligned characters. They're going to deal with this because no good character is going to be going around. Well, maybe chaotic good, but like no one like Valkyrie's probably leaning more towards the good side of things than they are chaotic neutral. If we're playing it like these are actual Norse Valkyries rather than Paizo's bastardization of. And yeah, get ready to get got.
Get ready to get got. I've still been like, and this is kind of for Lordly Caliber, I'm trying to figure out where in the outer sphere Asgard sits. I'm kind of leaning on Axis.
Asgard probably sits in pure neutral.
You think it sits
Asgard, as
probably
far
sits
as
in neutral good.
all the creatures that are themed around it, they sit in Nirvana.
Are they not chaotic neutral, like Valkyries and Einherjar and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yes, they are, but you also have to realize that the gods themselves, like Odin, would be. Oh, it's crazy, like it's third party stuff. But I think they'd probably sit more in neutral good land or maybe neutral.
Yeah. I think those guys are just chaotic neutral.
Nirvana or Elysium are good places for those type of creatures.
Yeah, I could see Elysium.
I would like the main three gods in their pantheon in like third party stuff and in my own personal opinion and expertise. Not saying I'm an expert in it, but there are certain reasons. Tyr, lawful good, Odin, neutral good, Thor, chaotic good. Those guys are the three primary deities in the religion. They're probably going to center it in neutral good.
Yeah, I could see it. And that bums me out that like these guys are relegated to chaotic neutral just because like, oh, you're a barbarian, right? Here you go. Anywho, enough rambling. Kane, you have the floor. Impress us.
No, that's not going to happen. I'm going to be pretty quick this week. I couldn't come up with a ton of stuff for what I had picked, but Anyways, here we go. My CR11 is the Carnivorous Crystals, the same as the monster I picked last week to talk about for CR11. Oozes typically they're mindless, and they're driven by hunger, so they're more terrain hazards than they are necessarily monsters. They're very slow, but if you're trapped underground, if you have to go through a tunnel, or for whatever reason you need to make a jaunt through the elemental plane of Earth, which is where they're native to, if you're not just underground, you might run across a couple of these things. And I would suggest fighting more than one of them at a time because they're so slow, or increasing the size of the ooze so your party can't just walk around it. Alternatively, if people in your party aren't rolling particularly well, or if you have a lot of arcane casters and rogues in your party, the subsonic hum is going to prove difficult, because so long as you can't make the DC 22 fortitude save, you're stunned, which means you drop everything you're holding and you lose all your actions. You're not considered helpless, but you are useless in a fight. Which basically leaves your martial characters and your divine casters, who have much better fortitude saves, or likely much better fortitude saves, to deal with the Carnivorous Crystal by themselves, until your wizard rolls a 15 or better to beat the 22 DC fort save. The oozes do a pretty substantial amount of damage at 78 plus 9 on an 18 to 20 crit, plus their entrap ability. And like I mentioned before, if you become entrapped and then in subsequent rounds become helpless and fail your fortitude saves, you will be permanently petrified, and later your body will explode into another Carnivorous Crystal. They mention that Carnivorous Crystals, whilst mindless, do somehow possess the wherewithal, or the understanding, that consuming animals, or people, consuming other living things, allows them to grow and reproduce exponentially faster than they otherwise would. So although they don't move very quickly, it's entirely possible that they might have a way to follow you over a fairly significant distance, especially if you're underground. You can't hide from them because they have blind sight, because they're oozes, they don't have eyes to begin with. And if you're beating up on them with bludgeoning weapons and sonic damage, they're going to split, and you're going to have to deal with more of them at the same time anyways. If you've lost your rogues and your arcane casters to the subsonic hum, you're going to have to compete with DR10 everything, which DR10 isn't a ton, but it's enough to be very annoying for characters that rely on attack chains, like archers that don't yet have access to clustered shot, or natural attack chain characters. And that's mostly everything I have for the Carnivorous Ooze, or the Carnivorous Crystal.
Yeah, fair enough. I can definitely second the do this in the plane of Earth bit. Do this in the plane of Earth bit, because a long time ago, at even level 4, I made a party going through a swamp come across a bunch of ochre oozes, and you just kind of walk around them, right? So, excuse me. That kind of just seconds for me also that at this point put them in demi-planes, or even for some reason Gazra is very, very pissed at the party, and there's always a windstorm and no flying for you to make sure that these things happen, because it kind of sucks when the encounter that you put a bunch of time and effort to is if they circumvent it with magic, or with really well thought out reasoning and planning and strategy, that's awesome. But if they circumvent it by stepping 5 foot to the left, that hurts.
Yeah. When you're dealing with a monster, there's a 10-foot floor speed and a 10-foot climb speed. I mean, it can follow you most places if you encounter underground, where it's supposed to be anyways, but you can still just run around it if you find it in a big room.
I guess it doesn't.
Alternatively, you can feed
listen
it
to
and
this.
have it follow you on purpose.
Turn it
Okay,
into your buddy.
I mean, it's neutral.
Elithopedion is when I'm sorry if this is a little disturbing. Adult content warning, very huge right now, all over the screen. Hopefully, a lithopedion is when a fetus dies and calcifies, turns into a stone.
Wow.
That's essentially what a carnivorous crystal does to someone. So imagine not on the plane of Earth, but in a hospital or in like a midwife's house. A
Or
lithopedion
in
turning
SCP
into a
containment breach.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what scared the fuck out of me because I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, that did not cross my mind at all. That is super spooky, and yeah, I'm gonna have to try to find a way to like use these somehow because I really like. I don't necessarily like, haha, I killed the party unless A, we're playing Dark Souls, or B, like I'm using it for a purpose. Like somebody dies because I need them to go to their afterlife and then like get a message from their goddess and then return with that message, that sort of thing. But these guys can do that, and that is super rough. I wonder if you couldn't have like a golem have like a like the jewel on the sword because it's just a stone thing he slams at you. Like have a carnivorous crystal like embedded in the sword, and it is faster and not affected because it doesn't have a fourth save.
Hmm.
I have a lot of brainstorming to do. Anyway, Donald, take us home, buddy.
The two monsters that I will be covering, both of these monsters, if you're going to be using them effectively, it's best to be using them in a swampy water area, especially in an anti-magic zone with permanent darkness spell. So any magic item that give the party dark vision, it's not going to work unless it's natural dark vision. So the first CR11 monster I will be covering, it is the Omex demon. The Omex demon. I mean the. I will begin off with the CR12. The Omex demon. This is a pretty nice monster by itself. It have relatively good AC, 28, a lot of hit points, good saves across the board for the most part. Besides being a demon with all the normal demon immunities for the Omex, it have a fantastic swim speed and move speed. With it have a nice range attack, so it can entangle someone while doing a good amount of doing a good amount of acid damage. That also apply to their melee attack as well. The best way to use the Omex demon is in a swamp area, as their environment can actually make them pretty nifty, as they get to use the Dimension Door to change from one part of the swamp to another. So effectively, you can introduce teleportation monsters in that change the encounter up. Just like most monsters by this point, generally you would prepare yourself to face against such monsters usually. So Paladin or any divine class would easily go through most of the Omex demon and demons DR easily enough. Especially if the swamp have a acid pit, that's going to be quite fun for the demons to push the party members into. And they can easily jump into the acid pit, which they are immune to. They have some nice at will powers, create water, so they can effectively create bodies of water on land and move around quickly enough, especially if you have a pack of Omex. Greater teleport, telekinesis, per day abilities, gaseous form, control water, poison, sinking cloud, acid fog, and then they can summon more of their own kind or other demons while having pretty good abilities across the board if they want to be hidden from the party. They're generally intelligent enough, so you could use them as NPCs potentially. And then the other demon I'd be covering is the Hazru, which is a CR11 monster. The Hazru monster, it's a pretty powerful demon, just like the Omex demon. it is important to use them in their own natural environment. So make the party blind or something like that. And the Hazard Demon is in its own paradise effectively. It have 2 attacks, which is pretty nice, a bite and claw attack, and they both have grab. It have a CMD of plus 23, so most casters by this point will fail this save, and any casters are going to be grabbed. Being size large, have reach of 10 feet, it is not that mobile. 30 feet swim and move speed with a typical demon DR, but it have some pretty nice at-will powers, especially against the lawful party members. Generally, demons are best used against good aligned party members or lawful aligned party members. So Chaos Hammer is great for that. Greater Teleport, Unholy Blight, Gaseous Form, Blasphemy, Summon Monster, so it can summon more Hezru demons. With the feats that the Hezru demon have, Blind Fight, Cleave, Great Cleave, Improve Initiative, Power Attack. If the rolls are in the favor of the Hezru demon, they could potentially kill a caster that roll badly for their hit points. It also have telepathy out to 100 feet. So generally demons after CR 11, they get telepathy or a long range telepathy, so which is quite nice. So just like Adam example, if the demon want to toy with their prey before they kill them, abyssal, celestial, draconic, so it could easily disguise itself to pretend to be something bigger to actually scare the party members. It also have a nice special attack called Nausea. You need to make a fortitude save 24 to avoid being nauseated, which for most divine casters and melee characters, they can beat that easily enough. But rogues, wizards, and anyone who have a bad fortitude save journey, they are going to fail most of the time unless they roll very, very well. These two monsters, I used them quite well in a campaign once in a swampy, watery terrain, and it led to a TPK due to using the Hezru and the Olmex demon's teleportation power quite effectively. So yeah, demons, if you use them properly in their own environment and make the players blind, it's going to be a challenge upon itself, especially if you use the abyss factors for the party members need to make saves against.
Fair enough. I can dig it. A lot of times I will I'll look over demons, daemons, and devils oh my, because back in the day, and I guess even still to this day, we have a bad habit of at least I do, of overusing Baylors, and that's just kind of like the end all be all. It will blow up, haha, go! And so I'll kind of I'll forget the little ones exist, and I'll kind of oh, another demon, and just forget it exists forever. And a lot of them are like you're saying, they're super strong, especially at this level when and even more so in a lower point buy or lower magic game when you can't break DR, or when the flaming sword that you picked up is the strongest thing you have, and then it does nothing. Anyway, before we ramble over time, I realize now, because I was told in the Discord chat that I cut Kane off midway through. I feel like crap, and I apologize. Kane, finish it off. You take us home.
All right, it's okay. I got a very quick thing for the Coloxus demon.
Fair enough.
So for the fly demons, you have DR, you have spell resistance, you have a a variety of different immunities and resistances. You have a fly speed because of your fly wings. You have a couple constant effects like tongues. You have some at-wills like contagion and invisibility and suggestion. You have the mind fog, which I spoke about last week, which will just absolutely destroy your will saves, which will make you incredibly vulnerable to spells like Shadow Evocation, which you also commented last week. Basically gives him access to any wizard spell of 4th level or lower that he wants. He has haste and quick and invisibility. He has sneak attack damage, so he can invisibility himself and then sneak attack people when they're not paying attention. He has the droning wings ability, which similarly it's a will save this time instead of a fortitude save. If you fail the will save, you what does it do again? Slowed, right. If you fail your will save, so this is going to affect your martial characters this time as opposed to your arcane casters and your rogues. Anyone with a poor will save, so your barbarians, your fighters, your other things that I will remember later after I'm finished talking, will be slowed. A lot of their combat effectiveness will be sent down the drain. The same characters that appear rely really heavily on attack chains, like your archers, your natural attack people, your not your vital strikers. Strangely enough, they actually make it out of that exchange not great, but better, since they only need the one action around anyways. They deal the charisma damage, which can be debilitating to creatures or player characters with low charisma. They have a really good reflex and fortitude save. But the one thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, because I missed this the last time, is they have the feat hover, which means if you're fighting them in an area that has a lot of ground debris, they can use their wings to kick up a large cloud of dust and detritus, and that will really mess with your visibility past 10 feet. If you're more than 10 feet away, you suffer concealment, which is the 20% mischance, and at 25 feet or more, creatures have total concealment, which is a 50% mischance. So he's effectively invisible at 30 feet or greater. Let's go back. I should have just opened another tab. They've got decent AC. They've got a good pool of hit points, and they're just. I still prefer these monsters, I think, as NPCs or in conjunction with a spellcaster, maybe, but they're definitely dangerous, even just by themselves. But that's pretty much everything I have for the Cloxus.
I can dig it, and I also like. This isn't necessarily for encounters so much as for your players, but it's also I guess for the GM setting up the encounter too, it should be echoed all the time, even though I'm probably contradicting myself just a little, but Vital Strike at even from 8 up, and probably more specifically as soon as you qualify for it, is kind of a staple feat, because there are a lot of things in Pathfinder that will stagger you. There are a lot of things in Pathfinder that will do stuff like the Colossus will. You can get oh god, I can't. There are a lot of conditions that will put you down to one action in a round.
It makes up for DER as well.
That is true. And it feels really bad because I prefer 2-up in fighting. I prefer flurry of blows. I really like archers. And when you lose the ability to do that kind of thing, to play around the way you're built, it shuts off your damage output really fast. And here's 1d6 plus 2 and pass. Haha. To push that farther forward. There's an enchantment. I'm trying to think what it's called. The training enchantment will give you one combat feat that you qualify for, but it doesn't count as a prerequisite. So any monster you build / any character you build for the nominal fee of 2,000 gold, or with your item crafter 1,000 gold on a even a Chisis, or spiked gauntlets or whatever it is you want, slap them on training enchantment Vital Strike. It can it will save your life sometimes, especially the Great Sword or the Bastard Sword. If you have more than one damage dice, you grab that for sure.
Well, it'd be more than 2,000.
Is it not just a +1 enchantment?
Well, it works on the scale, right? So if you have a +1 weapon and your weapon has to be +1 before you can put an enchantment on it,
okay, so you're
paying the difference. Yeah, you're paying the difference between first and second, so it'd be 6,000.
Okay, yeah. Well, then still, that's at this level, that's chump change. That's nothing, and it doesn't even it costs you nothing on the weapon you're trying to hurt somebody with. You just slap it on your gloves, get it tattooed on your wrist, and have improved unarmed strike if you must. It's really good. But we're not here to talk about optimizing.
I was gonna say he does have flyby attacks, so you could give him a lance with training on it that has spirited charge or something.
That's pretty much essentially how I built Aiden in that one shot we did on the Planar Crossroads. Was the lance was +1 training to get all the feats he needed. But anywho,
if you want
not
to
here to
see
talk
that
about min-max
character in action, just stop on over by the Inn of Planar Crossroads and watch the strange events, the Shadow over Milcian. There we go.
Yeah, strange events is where everybody sucks and dies. Shadow over Milcian is when you get me whale lance shoved up your butthole. But anyway, final thoughts, anybody, before I go pass out and sleep this sinus off? This sinus, I always have sinuses. This sinus infection off.
Yes. Some of the demons by themselves, to actually make them more of a challenge, give them a single class level and a martial class. So picture this: the Hezru demon, give it a single level in the class anti-paladin, and if you're going up against a good aligned party with a single anti-paladin level, and if it smites something, you're going to be doing a good amount of damage to a foe, which is quite nice. A single class level can actually make a monster more challenging, especially increasing its damage output for a weapon and AC.
Yeah, not bad.
For sure, yeah. Like when in doubt, anything is even better in like you slap a barbarian level on it and it hits harder.
Yep.
Also, again, I haven't echoed it. Well, I will say that the challenge rating, we're doing this by CR, and I like that we're doing it by CR, but like CR is incredibly arbitrary. And like the farther up that sliding scale you run, the farther away you get from it, especially if the players A know how to optimize, B aren't playing on like a 15-point buy, or C in some encounters, like as rock beats scissors, so too will like my gigantic to hit bonus beat your like abysmal armor class. So don't be afraid to like. I read a guide somewhere that somebody on Reddit sent to me to help like build your encounters a little better, and he like all of his encounters after like CR10 are always a CR difference of 4 higher than the party. So if we're a CR11, you build a CR15 encounter. It's again also like if the party can't handle it, the party can't handle it. Like as the GM, know the line, know the difference.
Well,
But
yeah,
like
I mean, if you took the if you took the Caligang and you gave it monk levels until it hit that 15 CR, that'd be pretty dangerous for a CR for a party of level 11 players. Even
yeah, anything with like 1 monk level, that's one of my favorites. Just like, whoops, I have my wisdom charisma to armor class, can't touch this, that kind of thing.
My favorite class to actually give to a monster, it is fighter, because that's generally quite an easy answer to give to players. If
it's just bonus to hit and feats, baby.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Yes, just a single level in fighter it's the best multi-class just for everything. A feat and increased saves, more proficiencies. What is not to like?
It's the most popular level dip for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's like it's brainless. You just press that button, have a feat go.
Well,
I like to like if you want to hit harder. My favorite.
The term versatile, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Now, if you want to be versatile, what you do is you dip. Well, you probably like double or triple dip, but you play a brawler and you take more time on your turn than the full caster does. That is the class that requires.
Pass.
One day I'll do it. I think I have enough system mastery to play a like all right competent brawler, but it's gonna be hard.
One of my favorite. One of my favorite archetypes, just for a single dip for everything you get, it is the Lore Warden Fighter archetypes. It pretty much gives you most of the intelligent base class skills as class skills for a single dip, extra feat, and everything fighters get you for a single level. It's totally worth that archetype alone.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite, like if I'm just trying, I need to hit you hard. I'll go like Barbarian 1, Alchemist 1, Paladin or Anti-Paladin, as much as I really dislike the Anti-Paladin class. If the party's all good aligned, it works. Anti-Paladin 2, if my charisma's good, and then have Mutagen, have Rage, have Smite Evil, or Smite Good, depending on what you, and just destroy people. But anywho, the Pathfinder is letting us know we are at the 1 hour mark, and I'm starting to feel super terrible again. So I guess we are going to sign off. Thank you guys so much for coming out and watching and dealing with me making awkward, gross sinus noises. We will be next week over at the Inn of Planar Crossroads talking about CR 13 and 14, and we are officially over halfway done with a very long mini-series in the Around the Hearth series. Hooray for accomplishments. Be sure to like and subscribe to both of our channels for content, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
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 Don't hold your breath. Oh God.